that I'm like very into. And then the first one is Lisa Zimmer Mahoney, who won't let me call her psychic, but for sure she is. And she's been through extraordinary caregiving experiences herself,
Right.
and can teach us how to use the intuition for guiding through the process that otherwise we can get so intellectual about all of our choices and decisions coming at us, where you really want to stay heart-centered and intuitively guided in the process. So that's one of them. And that leads up to a retreat in Mexico that I'm offering in March 12 to 19, specifically for caregivers. And it's going to include daily yoga, daily kirtan, and community building.
Any idea of what the cost of that would be? I'm sure a lot of people was, oh yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I want to go, but
It starts at $13.55 for
Okay.
a week away. It's an eco-chic resort. It's not one of your typical all-inclusive, like monumental city-size places. It's small and boat access only. You're not going to be harassed on the typical tourist zone by people trying to sell you things, and just a chance to rejuvenate and be peaceful. The primary form of yoga is going to be restorative with some energizing techniques as well, but for the most part giving people an opportunity to heal from the stress that they are constantly under. One of the hallmarks of the caregiver's syndrome is that we live on adrenaline. Right?
Right.
So you're just going the whole time. There's back-to-back activity. Even sitting down to have a cup of coffee is actually not possible some days, right? You're always weighing off the things that, okay, well, I won't shower today because I'm going to do this interview. That's my classic example. Although I did shower today.
Me too.
Yeah, there you go.
Yay.
Like you're always trading off really basic things. What am I not going to? Okay, I won't have this meal so I can do this work. And it's just like, whoa, these are crazy choices that normal people don't have to make. We've got the other side of the world now, where there's this whole group of people. They're bored. They don't know what to do with their time. They're looking for inspiration. They're looking for things. I'd like to marry that group of people with the caregivers. Because if there's any ultimate message I have around caregiving, it's that this is the responsibility of the whole community. For us to start to get together and support people that are in primary caregiving situations. Because otherwise we're just stranded on desert islands, and the whole society is going down from that. Our focus on the individual, that we're all just responsible for taking care of ourselves. And
Well, that's a rather selfish attitude, obviously.
it's become our almost our religious philosophy in this society is, right?
Yes, yes.
We're number one.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's zero as well. The number system, but nobody looks at that.
Yeah, that's right. It's turning to zero. One is turning to zero. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And so in terms of doing the caregiver yoga, if I can call it that.
Yeah, please.
What can you offer people who, let's say, who can't afford to go to Mexico, for example? I mean, many people who are in a caregiver situation find themselves not necessarily well off financially, and it's even more of a burden when they're looking after someone to be able to sustain themselves. Is there anything that people who are not well off enough financially who can come to you, or can you suggest something?
Sure. I offer local workshops in what I call yoga cream pie.
Okay.
So it's 3 hours of, again, back to the restorative yoga with live music, with discussion that surrounds the experiences that they're having, and very appropriate. I've done some of these now, and so happy with the way that they're received. People come in and they look 10 years older than when they leave. Like just watching the stress drop off their face, drop off their body. It's a very beautiful thing. So that's way more affordable than a trip to Mexico. That's if you book in advance, it's only $50.
Okay.
Plus, I'll tell you right now that if you go to my yoga courses website and sign up for my newsletter, you get 2 free yoga classes.
Uh-huh.
So that's very affordable. Free is
Sure.
good. Yeah.
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 And so, I mean, this is what I'm saying is that a lot of people maybe even don't do yoga, but there's a lot of caregivers out there, like you said.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of the population does yoga, but is there kind of, so these yoga, cream pie yoga? That's
yeah. Yoga cream pie.
Yoga cream
Yeah,
pie?
yeah,
Yoga
yeah,
cream pie.
yeah.
So that's for basically people who've never really done yoga at all?
Sure, if you've never done yoga, it's no problem because the poses are fully supported. They're appropriate for somebody whose energy is very depleted. Again, recognizing the difference. If you go and do power yoga when you're depleted,
Yeah.
you just get more depleted. As
Right.
good as it is for you,
Right.
you're not at that place. So it's with a really careful mind on knowing what that. Also, I should let you know I wrote an ebook that's also free. If you sign up for the caregivers newsletter at caregivers.ca, then you get that 7 secrets for avoiding caregivers burnout.
Right.
The book is at no charge, so there's a resource for people
That would
with limited
probably
resources.
be very useful for people who've never done yoga but would like to find out what they can be doing as they are.
Exactly. Some really concrete, practical things you can do, and then also more on the esoteric ways we can think about our process, turn it into more of a spiritual experience rather than
Right.
just a hardship to suffer through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so in terms of all this work that you're doing, what's the guiding principle for your life right now? I mean, as we speak, what's your guidance point? Right
The one, if you can call it driving force that keeps me going day after day and putting all of this out is the desire to build community and to get out of that place where we're not just one little isolated entity trying to make our way in the world. Total selfish motivation, because I know when my life is just doing this, then the satisfaction is very low. I get very little done. But as community, this is starting to feel powerful. Even for example, on Facebook, the connections that people are making, just on the simple level of inspiring one another.
Well, it just seems, doesn't it, that it's a human necessity now. Like Facebook is a prime example of that need to connect. And I guess the fact that people have been feeling so isolated, and now suddenly Facebook comes along and it's the thing that's happening in terms of how humans interact now, is very indicative of the situation internally, that we as human beings may have felt very isolated in our growing up process and in the way that we've lived, and now suddenly this need to reach out and connect with as many people as possible as part of our internal essential nature, if
Exactly.
you will. Our need to connect and to be.
Yeah, and connect with people who actually get you.
Yeah,
Right. So that's
right.
That's another
right.
beauty of the social media is that we can find. I've got like almost 1,700 connections on Facebook now.
Right.
They all have as their primary interest either yoga or kirtan.
Wow.
Amazing. I know, amazing. And I felt alone in this. Right. I felt like I was the only one on earth. I was kind of the only one in Winnipeg.
Right, but Winnipeg doesn't exist anymore that way, does it? It's not like a little bird somewhere that's exactly like floating in the ocean of nothingness.
Yeah.
Because we are, in a sense, it doesn't matter where you are now. I mean, this is going out worldwide as we speak. I mean, anybody who cares to tune in right now, anywhere in the world, is hearing us.
Exactly.
And if the essential information is valid, then that can be used by anyone, anywhere.
That's right.
Yeah, and so I think it's very interesting that we are coming to this state in our human, so to speak, in the terms of all of us as one species, as one life together. That we all know that we need to connect, but not just to talk about social. It's usually just sort of thought of as sort of just cursory kind of, oh, hi, how's it going? acquaintance type thing. But I think what I'm getting the sense of with Facebook and other social networking kinds of media is that there's a deep need to make more profound connections, and connections, like you said, where people get you.
And where you can get them too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I did
support,
notice that.
Yeah, the mutual support, because I don't know how many have said it. I only remember a specific quote from Deepak Chopra, but it's basically whatever you want, give that. So I've got a really close friend who's the most brilliant nutritionist I've ever met, Sherry Rothwell.
Right.
She does amazing courses. I'm hosting her for the Refuge Radio series.
Okay.
And here she's got the goods.
Yeah.
And yet she's struggling on basic levels, right? And why is that? So I feel so much energy about supporting her and lifting her up and highlighting her programs.
Isn't that
and
part
that
of
kind
it?
of thing. That's the thing. And there's
we help one another.
Yeah, same
strengthen where we're weak. And then that's perfectly in alignment with what you're talking about.
Yeah,
in terms
exactly.
of community building.
Yeah, you find the most powerful resources are, because our world, you and I, maybe you can, but I can't buy a billboard on Portage Avenue, or I can't, you know what I mean? I can't buy CNN advertising.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore. There was a time.
Yeah, that's right.
But not anymore,
Yeah. So the ability to take it in our own hands at a grassroots level, and even taking what we consider to be not spiritual, say like business and marketing and promotion, all that kind of thing, organizing your lifestyle, things that we traditionally don't fall in the spiritual category, I think has become a very spiritual movement.
Well, I don't doubt that the originators of many spiritual movements would have said that you can't spiritualize what you do in terms of your everyday activities, in terms of your livelihood. And I think that the Buddhists have a very good term for it. It's called right livelihood. In other words, where you whatever you do in your daily existence to sustain your body and your family and whatever else has to be directed by something that's conscience driven, real conscience,
Nice.
not just social, but you might say a universal type of conscience where you're trying to give back maybe more than you take. Just give back a little bit more than you take from the universe, and in that way, what happens?
Yeah.
There's a surplus, always a surplus. And
Yeah.
you know what? That can be used by others, and then they can give. And it's really quite a useful term, right? Livelihood. And I think that would be what was intended, I think, originally. So I think every part of life, cooking, taking the children for a stroll, all of that can be part of a spiritual practice, I would think.
Absolutely. Yeah, it comes back to your intention and what are you either consciously out of love going to create, compared to what are we unconsciously and fearfully trying to avoid. It's almost like, there's two paths. You can be like, oh yeah, I can just let life happen to me and be all guarded up and trying to fend off the bad experiences, or can I actively create something that is going to not just fulfill my own self? If I was happy sitting at home playing my guitar all day, I would do that. But guess what? The universe has got me saying, no, you've got to record this music. You've got to go and share it with people. You've got to use it as a means to enliven more than just my own self. So
I think that's the whole point. I think possibly this obsession with myself, as one isolated entity, is a program that isn't necessarily primary. I think there is a universal aspect to all of us that needs to be fulfilled while we're here, and maybe that is the primary mission of being alive while we're here as humans or anything else in the universe, is to connect with that universality in any way possible. And so I don't know if it's when you were talking about things are going down, I think things are going down because something is coming up in
The
terms.
two are happening.
Yeah,